Hmm. All right. See if this works.
What up, man?
Hey, Gumby.
What are you doing?
I am upstairs at a friend's house freezing my Royal Rastafari nays off.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's privacy, you know?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I just got done going to buy a fucking minivan. Freaking been needing a vehicle for a while. So, feels nice. I'm broke now, but a couple weeks I'll be able to get it plated and insured.
That's nice. Yeah, I had a vehicle too. I had a couple of them, but God, cops are so fucking corrupt. Holy shit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What? Where you living at now?
Chapel, Nebraska.
Chapel, Nebraska?
Yeah.
I thought last time I talked to you, you're in California. I think last time I talked to you when I was hanging out with Dave there.
Yeah. California. Dude, I've been from one end of the United States to the other. I mean, it's just been one giant pain in the ass. People just. I'm tired of being victimized. I'm tired of being treated like I'm some sort of a monster. And I'm. Dude, it's fucking crazy. It is. I mean, people think that I can just magically make it all go away. They think that if I ignore it, it'll magically all go away. I'm like, no, it's not. People keep giving me advice, but not listening to what's going on. And that, I mean, that is the shittiest thing that people can do. You know, I told them the things that need to happen in order for me to have an honest day in court and why it's so important. And they're too busy getting fucked up on drugs and getting drunk to fucking keep their word. I'm like, you know, that's so screwed.
The shit out in Boulder?
Yeah, but it wasn't just in Boulder. I mean, it's been nationwide. I mean, the police everywhere because I was assaulted by Officer Whale in Lowittai, and he had a history of assaulting people, and then he assaulted 6 more people after me. But because of the slander, like, fuck, everybody was afraid to fucking stand with me. I'm like, holy shit, dudes, you're a bunch of fucking pussies.
So no one came through for the court date. What ended up happening? You still going to court or?
Dude, I got fucking tortured in the jails. I got railroaded. I had evidence stolen from me. My public pretenders wouldn't do their goddamn jobs. You know, basic homeless shit.
What came out of it though?
I ended up getting fucked. I mean, they literally fucking tortured me in the jails, and my public pretenders wouldn't do their jobs. Nobody would look at the fucking evidence. Like, I got fucked. I mean, I lost every friend that I have anything in common with. I lost the ability to go, well, I would say that I lost my ability to go see my loved ones in Boulder, but I lost that a whole year earlier, you know, in 2016 over Natalie and her sister fucking lying.
Well, fuck, dude. So now you're just stuck in Nebraska?
Yeah, I'm stuck in Nebraska. I also owe money in Wyoming for charges that fucking shouldn't have even been brought up. I mean, I can understand the charges, but the thing is that the way that they fucked me, them stealing my evidence, knowing that there was evidence of child abuse and things of that nature on it, and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't give a fuck. You know, we just want you to lose your vehicle so that you're stuck here in Wyoming." And dude, they were fucking so. They were mostly verbally abusive there. I mean, making fun of me for. Holy fuck, dude! I fucking hate cops.
Yeah, they suck, dude. I don't particularly care for them either.
You know, if it wasn't a situation where it was to the point where I had to call the cops, I fucking wouldn't have. You know, I mean, I'd gone to Miss Peaches for help. I'd tried talking to A Bear, but you know how he gets. He's fucking opinionated, and when he's got an opinion, nobody else's fucking shit
Oh, yeah,
matters.
you get stuck. he gets stuck on his little. He thinks he gets stuck on lines of thinking.
Yeah.
Love on me, but yeah, he definitely does.
He thinks them Facebook memes is a fucking fix for everything, and it's difficult for me because like these are people I do care about. You know, I care about Peaches, I care about A Bear, but like for a whole year before Natalie died, I mean, I was doing everything I could to try to get help. You know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these people should have come forward in court about it, and they said that they would. A Bear didn't, but Peaches said that she would. She said that she would write it down, and she just never did. And then they got pissed. Well, A Bear didn't get pissed off. He fucking gave me a thumbs up when I told him I was recording him. But the situation with Peaches, like she helped out my predators literally.
I know it's bro. That goes take Grandma April to him. That's my little daughter right there. That's my.
Congratulations, by the way. You went from being homeless to being a dad.
Got another one on the way, due in a fucking month, bro.
Really?
Different people. Yeah, different girl, but another little girl. So yeah, this one's gonna be Joplin. The name Joplin.
After Janice?
Yeah, like after Janice. Her mom kind of looks like Janice. Not gonna lie.
That's pretty cool. I mean, not that she looks like her, but you know that you're naming her after a old school hippie.
Well, yeah, of course, man. What the fuck? Like, just because I'm on clean cut now, don't mean I lost my hippie heart. I've always been a fucking hippie at heart, man.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, dude. I've been living the life of just working, bro. Finally seems like I'm starting to get a little bit ahead, but I just, spent all that money on this van. The drive's pretty nice though. Ain't no checking lights on it, so I got 125,000 miles on it. It's drove it all the way back home for about 40 miles, doing 80 all the way down the freeway. So it's not overheating. Ain't no major issues going on with it.
That's cool.
It's not. Well, then you got to look around some more.
Yeah, I got
Work's been my life lately, man. Fucking this cool neighbor came through and hung out with me for a bit, but don't yell at me, no. I don't like that word coming out your mouth. I'm on the phone with somebody. You put your coat on, you can go outside, but stay in the front yard. Put your coat back on, it's out there. Yeah, you can go in the backyard too, but just stay in the yard and don't go in the street. Yeah, you can go back there. Put your coat on, it's right there in the chair. Yeah, dude, that's been my life lately. I get my kid every freaking weekend. That was one good thing that came out of A-Bear coming out, man. It was like kind of my life a bit. One woman that I had the kid with kind of took off and moved out, and A-Bear stayed there and held it afloat with me. And yeah, dude, fucking I'm kind of glad I got out of that situation because I was at the board trying to have another kid with her, and I'm glad I didn't have another kid with that one.
I think you're a pretty good dad so far. Certainly sounds like you're not a POS.
Yeah. Yeah, I do a pretty good job. I'm there for my kids as much as I can be. I get a little annoyed here and there, and but that's just the pains of having a 4-year-old,
Yes, sir. I'm smoking tobacco out of an aluminum pipe in a fucking house with no heating. I think you're doing better than me. Yep.
The crazy thing is the one I got the kid with right now. I'm living with her aunt. Her aunt moved me in after the shit was going on in my other house. I kind of got a little hole running around the one I got pregnant, not working. I'm trying to sell doses and doing stupid shit like. I mean, I was making enough money to get us around and put food on the table and this and that, but I wasn't making enough money to pay rent and keep shit up to date. You know what I'm saying? It was funny, man. She moved me in. She was like, "Yeah, like I would never move Sarah into my house, but you're more welcome to live in my house." Like, they treat me like none of the families that have been out here.
Well, there's a lot of people that were like that until what happened to Natalie, but I mean that was all over the news, and
yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of people that took me in, but most of them are, drug addicts and alcoholics. And fuck, dude, like with me trying to explain autism to somebody who they only hear what they want to hear. Like me, if there's more than one person talking, I don't hear both of them. I don't hear either one of them. I mean, it's difficult, and I have to really focus like hard to hear what they're saying. And at that point, it's like it's not even worth being here.
That's worth being here, bro. You got more shit to do in this life. It ain't done through yet. You may be going through a rough patch, man, but it's so you know what I'm saying? Like it's ebb and flow, bro. Like it ain't done yet. You got some more shit to do.
Well, what I meant by that is that it's not worth being in that conversation or in that group. Like when I explain to people, you got to talk to me one on one. I mean it. And the police, they do everything in their power to exploit that by two of them talking at once or asking, three or four rapid fire questions or fucking getting a shitty attitude. And I'm like, I can't process all of this because you're.
What are you telling me? Yeah, keep going. Oh yeah? That's just a piece of driftwood, but you can go use it as a playground. Go ahead. No, there's a playground. Oh, all right. That sounds a little like a playground. It's a playground right now. The ditch was right there. Oh, wow. It's a playground. Take care. You want to watch me? No, I'm busy talking on the phone. I'll stay right here and watch you. I'll watch you go play. Go ahead, go play. But yeah, dude. Yeah, it's you definitely got to be very appreciated, man. That's definitely yeah, talking to people one on one. Yeah, even in that's like basic respect. Like when you talk to someone, give your hang out. Yeah, I definitely get that shit. But yeah, you definitely got to be where your fucking value. Where your fucking people are acting crazy and shit like that. No need to fucking, especially if they're just being one sided and shit. That's not
Well, see, that's the thing about Boulder is that Boulder is really the only place that's ever been home to me. I mean, that was some place where I could be me. Here we got farmers who spend half their year on vacation, and then they spend a quarter of the year telling other people what to do, and then they spend a quarter of the year at Hanson's Texaco sitting there talking about how lazy everybody is, how everything is the fault of blacks and Mexicans, and getting fucking drunk, I mean, at Hanson's, they're just drinking coffee, but then they go home and they get drunk on alcohol. I'm like, who is it you're calling lazy exactly? Talking about how they earned it.
I quit quite a bit of shit, man. I think I got drunk last time was Christmas Eve. I drank a couple beers, and then I freaking. Besides that, I quit smoking about 8 months ago just because I had this kid on the way, and I need to save up money and get shit together. And, it's definitely helped out quite a bit, but I can't wait. Once I get a better job and get this car together situated, I'll probably get back to being more of a pothead. But for right now, I had to buckle it down a bit and get my shit together.
Yeah, that's something that I'd pretty well steer clear of is pot. I mean, it helps me, it does, but it depends on the situation. Like the situation that I'm in now, it's basically just it's me and the guy that I'm staying with, and like we both have similar interests, but they're not the same interests, so they're offset just enough for it to be overwhelming for me. And like for him, he plays video games and he plays them pretty loud, but he also has multiple. For me, especially, sound is something that's important. Like if there's a lot of noise, I can't really process what's going on. I know where I'm at. I know all of that, but it's the matter of like a conversation with you. If I was doing this downstairs while he's got Game of Thrones on the TV and he's also watching a streaming video of another dude playing the video game that he plays, like that's just too overwhelming for me already, let alone trying to have a conversation. And that's the only room in the house that's got any warmth to it. So I got to decide whether I'm going to be up here freezing my fingers off or downstairs warming up and listening to a bunch of stuff on the TV that like that shit's traumatic for me, you know. Game of Thrones with all that killing and Dexter with all the chopping people up and all that stuff. Like when you've lived through some pretty traumatic shit, that stuff it just brings you back. And then like pretty much since I've been here, he's gone through the Dexter series already from the very first episode to the last episode, and he just got through the second time with Game of Thrones, and it doesn't mean he's a bad dude or anything like that. He just, you know, his interests are different than mine. If I was to watch TV, I'd be watching something on history, you know.
Yeah.
When I play video games, I play Star Trek Online, and I mostly just play the ship battles. I'm not a big fan of the.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, fucking. When I turn on my game system, it's usually sports, man. I got NHL, and those about the two games I play. Here and there, I'll throw on like Battlefront or you know, some kind of like shooting game, but I only make it like, you know, 30, 40 minutes from time to run around following people and shooting people. You know what I'm saying? I like the sports games because I can turn it on, play for like, you know, 30 minutes an hour, and turn it on, save the season type shit. You know?
Yep.
Just
And
what you need, princess? You need something to eat? You want chili? Grandma April made chili. You gotta learn to eat what Grandma April makes right now. I'm gonna go to the grocery store later on today, but we're getting it. You want a piece of pizza? I'll eat this up for you. It's got bacon on it. Yeah, we're gonna get some food in a bit. I gotta go grocery shopping here in a little bit. You got some fruit and yogurt? You want fruit and yogurt? I'm not. What are you thinking? Don't lean on that. Don't lean on that. No, the pickles are all gone. You ate them all last weekend. It's all the pickle juice. Well, we'll get some pickles whenever we go to the store. Hey. No, but you can. Here, I'll get you a little glass of pickle juice, but I'm not gonna drink the whole thing. So, what do you want to eat, little girl? I got yogurt and berries. You want some berries and yogurt? Pepperoni. Alright, I'll heat that up for you. Then throw it in the microwave. Put it on the counter. Do you want it cold? Alright, it'll be warm. Hey, here's some pickle juice. Just drink it in here. Don't take it out. No, it's pickle juice. Yeah, man, I don't really got much going on besides the kid, and I'm trying to find a better job, man. I got a job, but it doesn't pay very well, and it's the whole point of getting this car, though. I got to ride back and forth to work right now, and it's in town, so it's kind of decent. If they hire me at a little bit better rate, man, I'll probably stay there. If they hire me at like 13, 14, I work through a temp agency right now, and I want to get $10.25 an hour through them. But I've been there for like months, bro. So
yeah, I worked through a temp agency in Virginia. I was with Labor Ready. They always loved me. Of course, I'm a good damn worker. I've worked with People Ready too. For me, I gotta. Go ahead.
I said, I think Labor Ready turned into People Ready. Because when I went to go apply there and get my shit together, I got to Labor Ready like 10 years before, and they didn't make me do the whole like 100 questionnaire thing again because I'd already done it back in Colorado like 10 years before, and I was definitely through Labor Ready. And yeah, so I think People Ready is like the new Labor Ready.
Yeah, that would have been the was that the Labor Ready on Table Mesa, or would that have been when they moved it to Longmont?
No, I was actually when I went through was up by Aurora Mall. Is when I was living with Dave and Tiffany.
Yeah.
So that was the
Well, I don't know. When A Bear and Tiffany were together, they were living at Tiff's mom's house. They fought a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived there quite a while. Yeah. I lived there for like 6 or 7 months of A Bear's probation. I would have stay there, and I pretty much just donated plasma and freaking worked here and there with Hey, I'm talking, Maya. Tots? Hold on a minute, Maya. Tots. 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 Tots.
Stop eating this orange one. The red one is more good to me because it tastes like berries. My bear like doing cartwheels and backflips and stuff. Then I'm going to fly it into my mouth. That's why you know.
Yeah, dude, it was kind of nice. I don't know. I had a fun time hanging out up there with them, but it was, yeah. I definitely eventually that's where I ran into Domino's ass at. And then when I met up with Domino, I picked her up the Boulder, and then I just kind of kept staying up in Boulder at that point. And then shit, it wasn't a couple months till after that I just took off and hit the road.
Yep. It was good to meet both of you. I mean, you and Domino were real good to me.
Yeah. She's living out in LA or around that area right now. I haven't become friends with her on Facebook, but she's her crazy Domino stuff, so.
Yeah.
Maya, don't yell at me. I'm looking for it, Maya.
Well, a lot of the issues that I had is that a lot of the people that offered to help me, I mean, they're parents, and that makes it really difficult. But then there's the fact that the courts, they didn't care. They wouldn't allow me to show any evidence, and with the police doing everything in their power to hide the wrongdoing of other police officers, like it's been hell. I mean, I've literally had to break the law to try to force the truth to come out.
Hi, this is me, Maya.
Hello.
Maya saying hi to you.
Hi.
Hi.
This is my friend Sean. One of me and you remember A Bear? That was one of my A Bear's friends. We used to live out in Boulder together. Way before you were even thought of. Oh, thank you for the kiss.
There's a pointy.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's definitely, they still should have been going to court.
Well, that's the thing. When you're homeless, they railroad you, and that's just as simple as it is. The only way to bypass that is to have somebody care enough to go in with you that knows what's going on. I mean, I told people, hey, I need you to make a report. I need you to write it down. And, that's what the attorneys had told me. They can't help me because of the whole mentally ill term. So, I have to have somebody else go in with me. I have to have somebody to advocate for me. And, even with a lawyer, in order to talk to a lawyer, I have to have an advocate there and present. Whether that be like a guardian ad litem when you're a kid, well, they have those for adults too, and I needed one of those. But it's just they did everything they could to keep me overwhelmed, and that prevented me from being able to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And of course, dealing with A Bear, he's pretty opinionated about that stuff. Like, if he can do it, you can do it, kind of stuff.
That's not talk. That's not talk.
Yeah, that's it's kind of, I don't know, man. It still should help you out. I don't see why. Like, Peaches seems pretty solid. I don't know why the hell she backed out.
Well, the thing with Peaches is that she kept on telling me that she would help me, and then when I showed up, it ended up that she's got some reason or excuse, whatever you want to call it, why she couldn't. Or she'd start talking about this Mexican family that, this Mexican family had a bunch of issues with the cops. And at the end of the story, of course, they're able to get a positive outcome because it's a whole family of them. But, the point that she was trying to make is that, that Mexican family had gotten screwed to begin with. And the only reason that they ended up not being screwed is because of video evidence. And I'm trying to explain to her, like, yeah, that's exactly the point though, Peaches, is if it's just me, I'm screwed.
Don't yell at me.
Like there's a lot of people from Boulder.
They still gotta help you out though.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that they did to help me out. I mean, there was so much stuff that Peaches did, but she never wrote it down, and she never bothered to show up in court or go in to talk to the police with me. And as a result, like, they railroaded me in court. And you know how they use the phones to, see if you're too broke to defend yourself. And I mean, that's what I had to deal with. There was a lady who sent me some money for my telephone so that I'd be able to call Miss Peaches and other witnesses and let them know what was going on. And the police wouldn't put that money on my phone. It didn't show up at all the whole time I was there. And that lady, her daughter, ended up putting some money on after it was already too late. But
like, I am going down. No, they're not going down. Dad, they're not going down. Maya, that is going down. It's going to go up. All right, it's going up. Look, what show do you on? Yeah, what is that? Because you're another bear. You want to watch Gumby? Yeah. You don't see it. Not easy to blend that in. Yeah. You say one more time. I have to say the people. One more time. Ethiopia, whether it's somewhere in the mountains of Ethiopia, the city in downtown Addis Ababa, everyone that I've met and got to know has been incredibly friendly, helpful, really willing to with their culture, teach their language, which is very difficult, but they kind of go with the flow, and that's something that I haven't experienced everywhere. Jarrella? Yeah. It's some of the best food in the region. I'm glad I'm checking, man. Hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Yeah, me too. No internet needed. Wow, look at that. We just ran into each other. Old school. Give me old school here in Ethiopia. After meeting so many new friends, I rushed back. There you go, baby girl. I watch the show. Yeah, dude. That's, oh, Maya, come here. Come eat your pizza. Maya, I'll pause your show. You just come eat your pizza. It's on the table. No, not yet. Not till you eat your pizza.
Well, the big issue that I had with Peaches was, like, she was trying to help. I mean, there was a lot of slander that the police kept on saying, and they only got away with that slander because Peaches literally never came forward. She never wrote it down. She never actually went in with me to speak to the police. And I was cut off from being able to communicate with her while I was in the jail because the police wouldn't put that money on my books. They wouldn't put it on my phone. And, like, I ultimately had to flee the state of Colorado because, I mean, I was being assaulted by police. I mean, it really, really got bad. And, Miss Peaches, she kept on saying that she was gonna. And then when it came to actually doing it, she didn't keep her word. And Ken and Leah had stolen my money. And, some of their friends were threatening and harassing me and all sorts of shit like that. Like, a lot of these predators, they didn't do the bad shit themselves. They had their friends do it. They coordinated with their friends to basically bombard me at every fucking corner to prevent me from being able to defend myself, prevent me from being heard. I mean, they kept on trying to destroy my Facebook so I couldn't communicate with my loved ones. I mean, it was just bad.
So what actually ended up coming out of that?
Well,
what actually ended up?
I ended up getting fucked with by police across the United States, having to stay with alcoholics and meth dealers, and I also stayed with my dad, which was a bad idea. But they railroaded me in court. Go ahead.
Oh, everything's taken care of, though?
No, sir, not even close. I still have people that threaten my life. I have people that throw stuff at me. I mean, here in Chapel, Nebraska, it's a small town, and Denver News is the news station that most people around here watch and listen to. I still have people from here calling me a killer and a murderer and all sorts of shit. But the thing with Miss Peaches, she's mad at me because I slandered her name, and she's right, you know. But that's also a matter of opinion because the help that I needed, the help that she promised, she never followed through with, and all of that other help didn't make any difference because when it all came to having my court date, she wasn't there. She hadn't spoken up. She hadn't written it down. She hadn't kept her word, and all of the slander that they said in court, really fucked me. And I was never allowed to speak on my own behalf in court. They kept giving me the mentally ill treatment. So when I got out, I ended up recording a bunch of people and fucking posting it up. I'm like, this is literally the only way to do it. After everything that I've been through, I have to be able to show the truth. I can't just allow people to harm me for the rest of my life. I have to be able to show this stuff. And she called me up and she was pissed off. One of Ken and Leah's friends named Blaine McCralius, he was Freak, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know Freak. Yeah, fuck yeah.
But he was dating Dawn Bird, who had assaulted me, and there was a whole situation over at Ken and Leah's with them stealing all my money before Natalie died. And afterwards, I literally had to find a way to get the FBI to look at what all the cops were doing because Peaches wasn't writing shit down, and neither were any of these other people. Most of them were afraid of getting assaulted by people in public, and they were afraid of the police. And I had that stuff on my phones, and I was just trying desperately to get all of that recorded and get it sent to a lawyer and all of that. But the lawyers kept telling me, hey, you have the mentally ill tag. You have to have somebody else go in with you. You have the mentally ill tag. I'm not even supposed to listen to you without, why don't you have a guardian? That's what a lot of them were asking me. And they have different names for guardians depending on where you're at. But that's literally what all of them were asking me. Where's your caseworker? Why isn't your caseworker doing something about this? And, Miss Peaches, she found out that I'd recorded some conversations between her and I. And of course, she was pissed off. I expected her to be. But it was all stuff that, like, she should have said in court. She should have written down. She had promised that she was gonna, and she just never did. And when they said that nobody would go in with me, I'm like, fuck, people did try. And they said that I wasn't making any effort. I'm like, fuck, I went to a lot of therapy appointments. And then they wanted to court order me to go to therapy appointments. I'm like, I'm already trying to go to therapy appointments I can't afford to go to because you guys have all of my money tied up in court. This is my disability money. This is what I need in order to be able to take care of myself, to be able to feed myself, and then other people are feeding me. And then I have them, when they don't keep their word to help me out the way they said they would, they always throw it in my face that they fed me. And I'm like, that's the thing, is that I didn't travel all the way from Colorado to California for food. I traveled from Boulder, Colorado to California for help that I was promised. And a lot of people, it wasn't just Peaches that didn't come through. It was also Tabby didn't come through, and Tabby, I spent a lot of money at their house, and listening to her ex, his name's Josh Eichelberger. He's just an asshole,
All right, don't yell at me.
And anyway, Miss Peaches got a hold of me and was telling me that Freak got a hold of her. Meanwhile, Freak has been threatening my life, so I just blocked his ass. But he was threatening to kill me over the situation over at Ken and Leah's. And, don't get me wrong, I committed the crime. I lit a fire right next to their pickup truck to try to force the police to fucking do their jobs. And like, they were doing stuff across multiple jurisdictions and multiple counties and not turning on their body cameras and all sorts of shit. And Peaches said that she would go in with me so that they wouldn't be able to do what they had been doing to me again. And when it all came down to it, she didn't go in with me. And those cops were celebrating the fact that they were arresting me after lying to me repeatedly. And, basically it's what's called entrapment. But it doesn't matter if nobody's there to witness it and it's you versus a bunch of lying ass pigs. You're screwed. And that's the thing, is that Miss Peaches said that she would go in with me, and then she just didn't. And there was a lot of stuff that Miss Peaches was helping me with, like trying to get those therapy appointments and taking me to a couple of those therapy appointments. And basically a bunch of stuff that I had been trying to do for myself and getting nowhere. She started trying to help me with that. But then when I was slandered in court and they said that nobody was going to come in with me, and nobody tried to come in with me probably because of the way that I act, is what they wrote down. I'm like, the way that I'm acting is because I'm going through a lot of abuse, and you fucking pigs are helping my abusers. You are helping child molesters. You are helping rapists. You are helping the people who assaulted me. And when I got out of jail, and Miss Peaches was telling me that Blaine let her know that I had posted that up, like, first of all, I knew that she was going to find out. That was something that I expected. But it was the fact that somebody who threatened my life was somebody that she was, sticking up for this dude. I'm like, the dude fucking was threatening to kill me, and you're helping him out. And then she said, I was explaining to her about, how difficult it was for me to try to get something done, and how I'd gone to her house on multiple occasions. And she's like, well, you should have tried harder. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I had already tried to get the police to help. I had tried to get you to help. I had tried to get Bear to help. I had tried to get so many people who said that they would help to actually just fucking listen to me. And none of them would. It was all either texting or ignoring me or playing video games or busy getting fucked up on drugs or alcohol or fucking getting stoned. And like the stoned part, that's not a big deal. Most of these people can actually function while stoned. They can actually listen while stoned. But it's when they're busy trying to run around trying to find weed for 8, 10, 12 hours. Every time that I went to Miss Peaches before Natalie died, I was there for at least 2 days, and one of those days I was there for 4 days. And like, she'd tell me, as soon as the kids are in bed, then I'll sit and help you, and I'll listen to you. And then as soon as the kids were in bed, her and Raj got busy playing video games. And I'm just sitting in the corner like a wallflower, because if I try to speak up, I get snapped at, especially when they're playing video games, because they're really into it. And, then finally, right before Natalie was killed, Ken and Leah had stolen all of my money. There was a big bunch of fucking bullshit, because I'd been assaulted in Boulder like 7 times that were actual assaults. That's not counting all of the getting spat on, having my phone knocked out of my hand, being pushed around, and fucking called a child molester and a rapist and all sorts of other fucked up shit. I'm like, hold on a second here. I protected all of you people. I was the one who stayed out there for 7 years with blankets so you motherfuckers wouldn't freeze to death. But it was all over the news, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. And Miss Peaches, when she told me, you should have tried harder, I mean, I fucking flipped my shit. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I got on the fucking YouTube and I made a video about how she didn't do a damn thing to help. And really, she didn't. She didn't write it down. She didn't come forward in public about it. She didn't go to the police about it. She claimed that she did. And I believe that she had tried to go to the police. But like I said, to her from the very beginning, you need somebody. I need you to go in with me. You literally have to go in with me, or nothing is going to happen. And I've recorded police officers saying that as well. Like, yeah, you need somebody to go in with you.
That's frustrating, bro. That's fucking.
Well, I've been harassing Miss Peaches and telling her she's a piece of shit and stuff like that because of the way that she threw me away. I mean, the thing is, I don't even want to be a fucking piece of shit to her. I want to go hang out with Miss Peaches, maybe smoke a bowl, maybe play some video games. Who knows? Just, it's the fact that I wasn't cut off from 1 or 2 people. I was cut off from my home. I was cut off from all of my loved ones. I was made a target. So when I go to Boulder, Colorado, I get assaulted. I get fucking harassed. I mean, and the police refused outright to do anything about it. And I was trying to explain, hey, I need somebody to go in with me. If nobody goes in with me, then it doesn't matter if they break the law. They're going to get away with it. They're going to turn off their body cameras and do what they want.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people also, they want to be friends with the people who are threatening my life and threatening to do all sorts of fucked up shit to my friends and family and fucking assaulting me. These guys want to be friends with them, and they're in Boulder, so you can see them, you know. And because I'm not there to defend myself, I mean, it's just basically a bunch of judgment that I can't do anything about. And that's the thing, is I can't see any of my loved ones, and that includes Miss Peaches.
So you're just not going back to Boulder, or you're not allowed back in Boulder?
I can't go back to Boulder. I got warrants in Colorado for being assaulted by the police and being assaulted in fucking mental facilities. I mean, literally, I tried to go to the police. All they were interested in was locking me up in a mental facility. But I'd been speaking out about Boulder police for years, and with as public as it was, if I'd have been allowed any credibility whatsoever, there would have been at least 3 officers that were arrested just based on my testimony. I mean, the shit that happened to Ogre, the stuff that happened to Nancy, the stuff that happened to, I mean, them stealing poor people's kids, first of all, that's just nasty human trafficking.
Yeah, dude. It's so you still got warrants out of Boulder?
Not out of Boulder. I have warrants in Arapahoe County, and I have warrants in Larimer County. But the really fucked up thing is that they keep using this jurisdiction bullshit against me, like to say that, you know, they can't do it because it's out of jurisdiction. Meanwhile, jurisdiction didn't matter when it came to fucking framing me. I mean, they could jump across from multiple jurisdictions and slander my name from different states, and all of those people's slander is allowed in court. Meanwhile, there's people like Miss Peaches who knows that it's bullshit, but she just never bothered to show up. But the other thing is, that's not entirely her fault, because I couldn't communicate with her. There was no way for me to be able to get a hold of her. And I did send her a letter, but you know, when I was finally able to talk to her, she's like, "Oh, well, you know, that was in my backpack and I went to work and it got rained on." And I'm like, "Fuck, that letter was important. You know, I needed you to read that."
Yeah. So you have to use your right hand.
So now,
it's hard, man. You can't hold shit against people like that. Like it's hard to say, but it's like fucking, you know, that some people just don't. I don't know. I don't pretty kind-hearted, so they just don't think in that line. Like, you know, I don't know. It's been hard thing for me, man. Some people don't find the same value. I don't know. It's kind of, I get that problem too, man. It's like I expect others to have the same heart as me. A lot of times, motherfuckers don't. You know what I'm saying? It's tough, dude. But
Peaches is a great person. I mean, she does have a good heart. The thing is that she was busy telling me how to think and how to feel, and you know, that's something that prevents people from understanding the situation. And a lot of people give me really ignorant general advice, like you need to love yourself. I'm like, first of all, I do love myself. The fact that you said that shows that you made the assumption that I don't love myself. I need you to stop with the assumption, listen to the facts, and not just listen to the facts. I need you to look at the evidence, because I'm not bullshitting. It's not just pretty words coming out of my mouth. These are things that are actually happening. And that's when I was helping people in Boulder. That's why I was so good at helping people in Boulder. It's because unlike all these other people, I have the ability to listen. When somebody says, "Hey, my boyfriend's beating me, I need help moving out," what am I going to do? I'm going to help them move out, you know?
yeah.
And with Miss Peaches, I mean, her being pissed off, don't get me wrong, I do understand it. But at the same time, like, she really, you know, when I needed her most and I needed her to be honest, she treated me completely like shit. And then when she was trying to help me, like, you know, she needed to come forward with that in court. The police slandered the fuck out of all of us, you know, with the things that they were saying in court and the things they wrote down. And I never got to see those police officers. I never got to have my pretrial. My public pretender repeatedly didn't show up. You know, I mean, this is all stuff that, at least in Arapahoe County Jail, I was in jail, so it didn't cost me money to go there. But also, there's the fact that I was being physically and mentally tortured by the police there, by the guards there, and also by other inmates. You know, I mean, there was one officer in specific named Officer Macrae, and I mean, she just oh my God, dude, she got off on it. She was such a fucked up person. And I was given a protection order thing while I was in jail. My public pretender wouldn't answer her calls, for a whole fucking week. And then the day that I'm supposed to have court, she finally fucking called them up and said, oh, well, he's incarcerated in jail. He can't show up. And the judge wrote down in that, this is all according to the paperwork that I had, but it's all gone now. But the judge said that I made no effort to show up in court. I'm like, holy shit, I literally broke the law to try to get this goddamn court date. I literally threatened the lives of people who are threatening my life to get this fucking court date. But I didn't threaten any of the Bollingers. And I've got the Bollingers, a whole bunch of documentation from Facebook groups and things like that, where they're playing victim. They're like, oh, well, this guy was threatening our life, and because he was threatening our life, we're gonna this and we're gonna that. I'm like, fuck you bitches. Nobody threatened your life, Jen, for freeing a fucking Bollinger.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that I was not allowed to go to court. I was illegally prevented from going to court. And then I went to over 20 court dates before I had to break the law like that and get myself arrested to try to force a court date, And after, I literally broke the law intentionally with the purpose of forcing the police to look at it. Fucked me. But since I had gone to every single court date, until they arrested me. And when they arrested me, I was assaulted 4 times in Boulder County Jail in like 4 days. And the day that I was supposed to have court, the 29th, with Alicia Bollinger, they wouldn't allow me to go to court. I'm like, I've been fighting for this the whole time to get a day in court where I can show what Alicia Bollinger and her friends have done and show that they literally lied out their asses and have been harassing me and threatening me and harming me for almost 2 years by that point. And the thing is that the judge, her name is Kathleen M. Jansky, she wouldn't allow me to speak for myself, and she also prevented me from having my constitutional rights and my right to a PR bond allowed, because she was, first of all, allowing stuff from other jurisdictions, but also she was using the fact that I didn't go to a court date to prevent me from that. She's like, but you haven't gone to court. I'm like, I was incarcerated in Arapahoe County Jail. We are in Arapahoe County Jail right now. I am still being held. Obviously, I could not go to court. So therefore, because I could not go to court, you can't hold that against me. I was held to my other court date.
Yeah.
And with my public pretender not willing to do her job, it was a real pain in the ass. And that whole jurisdictional thing, like every step of the way where they told me that they couldn't do something for me, they did that for the Bollingers. Meanwhile, the Bollingers are the predators. The Bollingers are the ones who raped Alicia and Natalie. They're the ones who got those girls hooked on drugs. And like I looked out for everybody when I was there, did I not?
Yeah.
That's the thing. People want to tell me, they're like, and you're not the only one who was typing, Sean, you're a good man, you're a good man, you're a good man. I know I'm a good man, but I'm also in an extreme situation where I literally need help. People saying I'm a good man to me. Well, yeah, but you know me. But these other people who are assaulting me and threatening me don't.
I was trying to get you out of the headspace. Like, what's your passions, man? That's why I was asking you about that. Like, get back into that, dude. Get back into shit to take your mind off all the bullshit that's happening, because you kind of collect when you're thinking stuff, it seems to show up. Like, if you're thinking about a red car, this red car, it seems you see it everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, man, what I was trying to do is try to get your figure out what the hell you're passionate about, what the fuck you love doing, and get back into that, because that'll get you out of this headspace of stuff, feeling like constantly getting
seeing my loved ones
getting fucking railroaded, and it is happening. But I think if you could get your mindset out of that and get away from thinking that constantly, it'll quit happening to you so much. Like it'll be you kind of attract what you think about type shit.
Well, that's the thing, is that I've needed positivity. That's why I was saying
that shit, like trying to break your cycle of thinking, your cycle that's it's shitty. I'm not saying you're on the bad spot, man. It's but it helps quite a bit, to get yourself reworked into new lines of thinking.
Well, that's the thing, is like, if I'm able to do positive things with positive people, it really does change my mind a lot. But I don't I don't have positive people in my life here. You know, most of the people here, they did fucked up shit, and I fucking called them out on it. They don't fucking like that. You know,
Yeah.
and the positive people that I do know in town, like they're too busy. They got families. They got all of that going on. I mean, Chapel is not a good place for me. It's never been a good place for me mentally. It's a bunch of basically it's a KKK town. You know, it's a bunch of ignorant rednecks. And the guy that I'm staying with, I mean, he's got a lot of his own emotional stuff, and he's not necessarily positive all the time. And you know, his escape is to play video games and watch Game of Thrones. And I mean, that's all negative stuff for me. That's all a bunch of killing and stuff like that. So I've been trying to reconnect with people that I know in the area that are positive, but I mean, the closest people that I know that are positive are miles and miles away. The ones that are here in town are just, they're too busy, or they just don't have, they're not going to take the time to understand. You know, going out and doing something positive is important, you know.
Yeah.
And I, like, for me, I have all of this stuff that I need to get done, and I can't do it because of the environment that I'm in. And it's not that he's a bad guy, it's that I can't listen to, like earlier when you and your daughter were talking and you also had the TV going, like I had to just pause because it was too much for me. You know, it shuts me down.
Take care of her though. She gets kind of fussy.
Oh, I wasn't complaining. I was just letting you know that that's why I paused there, is because I that's too much for me to process. It's I just had to step away from it, and trying to talk over that, you know, that's not going to help anybody, because you've got her talking to you, you've got the TV going, and you've got me talking to you. I mean, that overwhelms me.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of stuff that people just, like Peaches kind of understood a little bit, and she was starting to understand. But with all of my money getting spent going to court date to court date to court date all over the place, like, and all these places that I tried to let the police know what was going on, I was getting blown off. You know, I literally, the only times that I ever broke the law through all of this is to try to force the police to do their jobs. I mean, it just got that desperate.
Yeah. Hey man, well, dude, I'm enjoying talking to you, man. But I got to run up to the grocery store and get some errands ran real quick. My aunt just got back in, so.
Oh, you're good. You've given me an hour of your time.
Yeah, dude, call me up at any point, man. Whenever if I'm free, you know, I usually work throughout the week, man. But during the weekends, I'm usually pretty free. I'm just sitting around with my daughter, so if you want to hit me up on the weekends or after, you know, I don't know what time you're, but about 4 or 5 around my time during the weekdays is when I'm home. So yeah, dude, you're free to hit me up anytime or to talk to me, man. Sorry it took a while to kind of get connected or whatever, but
you're good, Gumby.
All of my daughters call me.
All right, be safe.
Yes, ma'am. If you want to, go ahead. All right, man. But yeah, dude, I love you, Sean, man. Keep your head a little more positive, man. Like it's definitely, you know, I understand it's kind of hard with the situation you're in, but
I'm trying.
You put it out there, I guarantee you can find a little bit more positive people to kick it around and stuff like that. I don't know Chapel, Nebraska myself, but you know, I bet that you get some better shit going on for you.
Me too. You be safe, Gumby.
You too, Sean.
Love you. Bye. See, where's the... All right, I'm pressing the hang up button. It's not working.
All right, I'm about to, I don't know how to get back to it. Hold on.
My phone's just got a bunch of cracks on it.
I got it. All right, brother. You take care. Be good, man.
You too. Adios. He's a good dude. A lot of fucked up shit happened, and a lot of people did a lot of really good things for me, but without them going in with me, without them writing it down, without writing down which officers and so on and so forth, like without them showing up in court or talking to my lawyer, without me being able to get a hold of them to let them know, hey, this is what's going on. You know, the police literally did everything they could to destroy my credibility and to prevent me from being able to get a hold of those witnesses and letting them know what's going on. I mean, that's the thing, is that the police outright lied and they knew that they would get away with it. And they had a lot of help in doing so. My own public pretenders were helping them to get away with what they did. Public pretenders don't give a fuck about the homeless. And I tried explaining to all these people, if you don't go in with me, nothing good's going to happen. If you don't go in with me, they are going to railroad me. That is how they decide whether or not to violate your human rights or not. If it's just you and you don't have the money and you say that you don't have the money, they automatically know right there that they can railroad you and there ain't a goddamn thing that you can do about it. Now, if somebody goes in with you, then you've got a witness. Now, there are people who went in with me who didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, in a lot of those court cases, I needed Miss Peaches to be there to tell them what was going on, to tell my public pretender what was going on, to write it down so I could give it to my public pretender. And all of these people, I tried explaining to them, hey, you have to go in with me and you have to write it down or it does no good. You telling me about it does no good. It makes no difference if you're telling me about it or typing to me about it. It makes no difference. I'm trying to get these lawyers to see it. They won't look at it. They won't look at it. They won't look at what's on my phone. They won't look at what's on my computer. The police are doing everything in their power to make sure that what's on my phone and what's on my computer doesn't get seen. If you don't stick up for my rights, I get the mentally ill treatment. And that is what I've had to deal with. That is what I have had to deal with. Now, Brandon Ratner, he knows quite a bit about schizophrenia. He does. And he knows that I'm not schizophrenic. And he has voiced that on more than one occasion. But he didn't voice it in court. But the other thing is, just because he didn't voice that in court doesn't mean that he doesn't care about me. And the fact is, when I had court in Wyoming, he's the one who took his time out of his day to pick me up. He drove all the way from Colorado, Loveland, all the way up here to pick me up and drove me all the way to Rawlins, Wyoming, and then drove me all the way back and then drove all the way back to his place at great expense in a pickup truck, a big pickup truck. But not writing it down means that I can't take it to a lawyer. Now, I've got this stuff on here that, I've made these recordings and I've sent these recordings to lawyers and they sent me back, we're not going to watch these. It doesn't make any difference without context. Like, I'm doing the best I can with my abilities. My abilities. And a lot of people expect me to be able to do things according to their abilities. And those abilities don't just include your knowledge of how to do it, it also includes having the equipment necessary, having a printer so that you can make copies of it so that the police can't destroy evidence or throw it away and then you're screwed. It requires being able to have like those USB drives that I spent so much on. I saved those USB drives. So much information was on those. A lot of the stuff that was on that computer that was stolen in Washington State, and by the way, all of my stuff was stolen in Washington State at least twice. If it hadn't been for junkies, I would have never gotten it back. If it hadn't been for homeless addicts, I would have never gotten this computer back. I would have never gotten this phone back. I did everything that I could to try to show those officers. Everywhere that I went, every single place that I went, officers are telling me it's out of their jurisdiction, out of their jurisdiction. Or they can't investigate themselves. And then I have to call this place, or I have to call that place, or I have to write these people a letter, or I have to write those people a letter. Meanwhile, the first thing I need is housing. I'm spending all of my money to go to court date to court date to court date to court date for crimes that were committed against me. What happened in Clearview was crimes that were committed against me. What happened in Boulder, Colorado was crimes that were committed against me by the police and by mental health people. And those mental health people help the police nationwide. They just assume that the cop is right and the person they brought in is wrong, and they will give the police whatever the police want. That is nationwide. That is nationwide.